Welcome back, everyone, to our playthrough of the career mode here in NASCAR Heat 2. So before we get going into today's race, which is going to be at Dover, which I am extremely excited about, especially given our current science project. This could be a lot of fun, could be very frustrating because passing is very difficult to do at Dover. There's not a whole lot of room. It's basically like a funnel, particularly when you're coming up off these corners. So that's going to be a blast. But before we get to that, let's take a quick opportunity to stop and just look and see where we are. Let's start off with the standings. We have dropped down to 5th, and that is because of our recent finishes, which have been quite a bit of fun. But in terms of points, no, we haven't been getting all top 5s and top 10, so our points position has dropped to 5th. But we do have the 2 wins and 10 playoff points, so we're doing just fine as far as the playoffs. But one thing I do want to point out here is take a look at all of the different drivers with a win in the top 10. Okay, only 2 drivers, Cole Custer and Ryan Reed, are in the top 10 in points and do not have a victory. And if I scroll down a little bit farther, at 14th, we get to Jeremy Clements. So now look at all of these drivers with a win. We're going to most likely end up with a situation that when we get to the playoffs, there are going to be more drivers with a win than there are playoff spots available. And that is going to be very tricky because then points come into play, and we're going to have to see how all of that shakes out. So we're going to have to make sure we don't fall too low in the playoff standings so that we get ourselves left out of the playoffs. But this is going to be very interesting to see how this continues to go, as we're going to have a lot of different winners, it looks like, in this particular Xfinity season. All right, next we're going to take a look at our schedule, and here are the most 3 recent races, and you can see why we've fallen down some in the point standings. 18th, 14th, and 12th, which, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Richmond short track, it was an absolute blast. Absolutely love running that track, and I don't care where we finish as long as we're having fun racing. That's all that matters to me. And then we had, unfortunately, at Talladega, the pack sort of got split up, and we didn't have an opportunity to race our way closer to the front to see if we could or couldn't do it. And then at Charlotte, we had some great racing, particularly there at the very end with all those cars jumbled up and we're trying to pass them for position. We had a real shot at a top 10, but we just didn't quite have the speed to get it done at the very end of the race. So we know we're going to Dover in today's video, but where are we headed after that? Well, after that comes Pocono and then Michigan. These are going to be 2 very interesting tracks as well. Pocono is very different from really anything else you do on the circuit. It's almost like a road course in some respects. And then we go to Michigan. Michigan's going to be interesting because is there really anything we can do to keep us from running that track wide open, as much grip as there is and as wide open as it really is overall? Can we keep ourselves from being able to run wide open and actually make it a race? I'm betting that we can, but that's going to be a couple of days from now. So we're not going to worry about that just yet. Right now, it's time to have some fun because we are headed to Dover. Before we start the race, let's take a quick look at the setup, and you can see for the most part as we look through the different sections, you're going to notice that everything is the same. Now, in this case, the one thing I did change to be a little bit different is the track bar. I am finding that I can really get the desired results that I want just from manipulating the track bar and leaving basically everything else the same. Now, when I say everything else, we're going to have a couple of things that are going to change per track, and that is the tire settings are going to change a little bit, and we know the gears are going to change a little bit. Those I'm not worried about. I don't really even count those. I try to leave those at default whenever possible. Sometimes I'll change the tire settings to whatever I use normally at the track rather than the default numbers, but for the most part, I'm trying to leave most everything alone except for the track bar setup wise. In this case, I've raised it up a little bit. I had put a sort of a self-imposed maximum of 8.5 inches just to keep the car really, really tight. Well, at this track, one of the things that's really going to get us is the track itself is extremely narrow. It's going to be extremely difficult to pass. We're going to be starting in the back, so we're going to have to pass a whole bunch of cars if we want to get anywhere near the top 10 or 15. And the spring settings, the rear springs being equal just absolutely kills your ability to rotate the car. So I think that alone, if you just made one change and made it the rear springs being equal, that alone would make the car extremely tight and take a lot of speed out of it. So for those purposes, I've gone ahead and raised the track bar up a little bit to give us an opportunity to pass some cars, because I think we're going to have a real difficult time anyway passing cars because we got a lot of speed taken out of the car. So I want to give us a little bit of an opportunity. I don't want us to be running 30th, hopefully. Hopefully we'll be able to get up a little bit farther than that, have some fun, and let's see what we can get out of it. All right, folks, we are green at Dover, and as I mentioned, we are starting, I think it's 34th actually is officially where we're starting. It's going to be very difficult for us to make passes at this track. One, because we've taken a lot of speed out of the car, but two, just because there is no room to pass. Wow, as we get right up on the back of the 97 car. I ran basically, I think, 2 laps of practice and then a qualifying lap. So we are in deep trouble as far as passing. We are at the back. I think we're clear to get down. Are we? Guess we'll find out shortly.
Stay low.
All right, running the bottom is going to be the way for us to pass. Again, you can run the top and make passes if you have speed. But with us being down on speed, I think we're going to have to stick to the bottom. But it's going to mean I'm going to have to play with this throttle a lot more than I would prefer, because the car just won't rotate enough for me to stay in the throttle underneath somebody. So right now, the way I'm running this track, so far, again, this is going to probably develop as we continue on with the race. But the way I'm running it right now is to give it a little bit of brake on corner entry, particularly if we're underneath somebody. And then I'm trying to be as aggressive with the throttle as I can, but I'm still having to breathe the throttle somewhere between mid-corner and three-quarter corner exit to try to make sure I can keep the car down when I'm underneath somebody. Now, if we're running clear track, which I don't estimate we're going to have much of in this race, but if we got clear track, I don't have to worry too much about the throttle and modulating that on corner exit. Ooh, look out. Right up on the 0 car. Drove it in too deep there. I caught myself wanting to drive this track the way I would normally drive it instead of the way I'm going to have to drive it with this setup. Good news is you can still be pretty aggressive with this thing, and my favorite part about the setup is I can drive it with the throttle. That's how I'm used to driving a car anyway, and what I mean by that is a lot of people will use the brake to get the car to turn and settle the car down and things. I prefer to use the throttle for that, and I use that a lot. In fact, you can probably hear it from time to time. I'll give it a little blurb on the throttle, and that's basically just me trying to see where the car is. Has it rotated yet? Has it rotated enough? That's me just feeling things out, and I've just gotten so used to doing it with the throttle over the years, and it seems to have worked for me that I just keep doing it. All right, so we're running 31st right now on lap 8. Not terrible. So you're going to give me the bottom? He is not. Oh, tight. Oh, there we go. We got a good run off the corner that time. Should be able to get under the 14 here. There we go. That's a little bit better. Just trying to learn right now how deep I can go in on the throttle, how much brake I need to use, and then how aggressive I can be getting back to the throttle. Yeah, we're definitely in no danger of climbing up to the top 10 or anything like that right now. Number one, we're not going to have enough laps for that. But number two, I don't think the car is going to rotate near enough for us to think about doing that. We should be able to get to the inside here, and turn, car, turn. Drove it in too deep. this is so much fun. I love the track anyway, but having to work this hard, even to stay in the top 30, is just a lot of fun. Ooh, had to get way out of the throttle there. We're going to have enough momentum. Yeah, we're going to be fine. We're still going to be able to stay to his inside. Another good corner or so, we should be able to clear him. Ooh. If I can keep this thing on the bottom long enough. Not to get us both wrecked. Alright, we're in 28th now. We got 13 laps left. Plenty of time for us to do something if we've got this car to do it. You can see we've got a great run on Armstrong there. Try not to drive it in too deep. Everything in me wants to drive it in the way I'm accustomed to driving in this game at this track, but I cannot get by with that with this setup. It simply will not turn. Oh, just able to stay in the gas there. I wanted to see if I could stay in the gas the whole way on corner exit, and I was able to do it, but boy was it tight. I lost a lot of momentum there. That's what I get for getting on apron. If you use the apron just right, you can get it to help the car to turn. But it's very difficult to do without spinning out, which is what I almost did there. Alright, but once again, you can see we definitely, when we can get some good clean laps in here, we can pull right up to these guys. Let's see if we can get to the inside of the 51. Jeremy Clements. Couldn't keep it. Oh, turn. Everything in me wants to stay in the throttle there, but
Still a car out there.
I'm having all sorts of trouble with Mr. Clements. But this is good hard racing. This is what I like. And for me, it doesn't matter a whole lot whether we're racing for 25th or we're racing for the win. Now, of course, everybody wants to win, but the main thing for this series right now is all about having fun. And good hard racing is what's fun. At least for me, anyway. We got a good run on Bubba. He's got a good run on the top side, and I had to get way out of the gas. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get by him, because he is running very well on the high side, and keeping me down is not helping my entry and exit of the corner. All right, is he going to give us a little room here? Can we clear him? Yes, we did. Excellent. That was hard fought. All right, I see no reason why Logano should be this far back in the field. But we need to pass him. Can I get to his inside here? Yeah, the line they run generally lets you get to their inside on corner entry. We'll have to do better than that on corner exit if I'm going to stay there. We got a good run on him here. I don't know if it's going to be enough, though.
Stay low. Hold steady well.
Alright, he's going to have the momentum on the high side.
Steady.
We just need to beat him for another corner or two, and we should be able to clear him. See if I can figure out how to get off these corners. And actually, ouch. Thanks, Logano.
clear, clear.
All right, so we cleared him after he gave us a nice little shot coming off the corner.
Need 3 more laps. Lead him.
All right, boy, look at that wad of cars up in front of us. Now, we're not going to have near enough time to get there and actually do anything with them. But boy, that is a bunch of cars. All right, so it looks like as we're on this final lap, final couple of corners, 24th is going to be all we can muster here, which is not bad, considering we started 34th, I think, something like that. Not bad in a very short race. Not bad at all. I'll take it. The car stayed under us, as slow as it might have been. And this is a track that I'm not sure how far toward the front we could have gotten had we actually used our normal setup. Something to think about. Maybe I'll try something like that in the future, because it is very difficult to pass here. You almost just have to pass them one at a time, unless you just want to go crazy and try to take it 3 wide, as I've known to do sometimes, particularly when I've got a good car and using the setup that I like. All right, so we got a message here from Ryan Reed. You're a super professional out there on the track. Every single driver I talk to loves racing with you. All right, I like it. I like it. Those are the kind of messages I like. All right, so now we've got, okay, another hot seat offer, another 3-star team. We could use your help driving the number 13 car at Dover this Sunday, get a top 22 finish, and we might consider working with you in the future. Okay, so a top 22 in a 3-star car. So this is going to be interesting. What do we need to do as far as setup? Do we need to really hinder ourselves on the setup, or because it's a 3-star team, do we just say, hey, go for it and have fun? But of course, that'll be in our next video. For now, thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned for more NASCAR Heat 2.